Hey everybody, welcome back. We are here again, my friends, for another episode of the Sit Around the Fire podcast. I wanted to take a moment to just extend my personal gratitude for all of the love and support that I get from everybody who takes the time to tune in and dive into the episodes. I really would not be able to do this without all of your support. So thank you for doing what you do, continuing to show up and allow us to have a conversation. Now, today, this is an incredibly fun conversation, you guys. You are going to really enjoy this one. I have an extra special guest on the podcast, Chef Calvin Harris, and he is an incredible culinary innovator and a home cooking advocate who has personal experience with first responders in his own life, but also shows up to the firehouses to cook dinner for first responders. So, if you like food, if you like talking about food, if you like food in the sense of community and fellowship and all of those things, making good decisions for your health and maybe challenging, questioning some of the things that you thought about before, you are going to get a lot out of this episode. It was super fun to sit down with him, really intriguing ideas and conversations, and I even walked away with a couple of recipes that I'm going to definitely be trying for dinner as well. So, welcome to the show, Chef Calvin Harris. I hope that you all get as much out of this conversation as I did. Well, welcome in everyone to the Sit Around the Fire podcast. I am sitting here with a very special guest here today, Chef Calvin. We'll call him Calvin for ease of my dialogue. But I'm so excited that we got connected and really just honored and delighted to have you come in to the show today. And what I usually like to start off by asking is, what is one message that you would like to get across to the people listening today?
Well, it's funny. At this age, I'm soon to be 56 years old. And I always like to tell people, and I really start telling this to my son. I have a 17-year-old and we have a 32-year-old daughter. So it's a different talk show. But what I tell him is like, what you do before you turn 50 really matters about how you live the rest 50 years of your life. So I know it's very easy and simple when you're younger not to really think about what you eat and how you live, but it matters later on in life. So if I had a message, if I could go back and talk to my old self, I probably would have thought, not that I would take anything back because I'm so fortunate and blessed that I've gotten the chance to travel, see the world, and work and on a lot of amazing chefs and learn a lot of different things about food. But maybe I would have had one less French fry, one, one less slice of pizza or something during my football heydays. So just and with the way times are right now, it's just live because you're not promised tomorrow.
Oh, I love that the most is just live and be present. Something I talk about a lot. We miss out on that, but
That's awesome.
I'm a little bummed that you brought up French fries and pizza because those are definitely two of my favorites.
Well, everything is about moderation, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, having, I worked, I'm sorry, I'm letting you I'm taking over the thing, but no, please proceed.
No, you go for it. It felt like you were going to tell us some of your story. So yeah, tell us who you are and what you are about.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Texas, and Texas is all about the beef. And my father had a barbecue house when I was a kid coming up. So when I think about brisket, I think of it like a, slice of bacon, a piece of toast. They kind of belong together with almost every other meal, from brisket to, just barbecue and grilled stuff, you know, stacks of wood. And, my father had this real thing about pecan wood because it had just enough smoke, but it was slowly smoked. And my father was always real big about, he didn't like his meat overly smoky. So he was doing food science before he realized food science was a thing.
Brilliant. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So when you think about, poor kid that kind of came from that background and to get a chance to go to school in New York, culinary Institute of America, go to Europe and study in the French master chef, and then come back and eventually run research and development for Burger King. That's a pretty amazing journey, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was big, 31, 32 years old, and I was running the second largest restaurant chain in the world's restaurant research and development department.
Wow.
So, it was cool. It's just a transition. We went from working in research and development at TGI Fridays to Arby's, and I met so many great people along the way. My boss at TGI Fridays, when I was when I was interviewing with him, he said to me, he says, if you take this job, it'll be the best move you could ever make for your career, and you'll never look back. And I never did. And there were a number of different lessons along the way from sort of, I came from this very high end, Michelin 3-star French restaurant where there's, 4 to 5 people sometimes working a station. And, everything was so perfect and precise. And you gave everything so much love that, to go from that to, listen, we have some guys who don't really know how to cook, but this is a job, not a career. And
Mhm.
we need to make sure that we can replicate what you're doing in the kitchen in 2,000 restaurants around the country. So that was a great learning. But, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh, yeah. No, like it sounds I love the dynamic of both things. Like you mentioned the 5 star too. We got to teach Joe how to make good sandwiches, you know?
Exactly. Make sure we have a good burger, and just thinking about from the French fries to where we're about the French fries, what type of oil we were frying them in, what type of coating if we wanted. Thinking about just the different, what went into our meat. Did we get our meat from Argentina? Did we from the States, Brazil? All these large different things and how they cooked going down the line. How are they going to be cooked on the grill? Were we going to be doing it on a flat top? All these different things went into every little piece of that.
Wow.
And equally, at Arby's, really my boss there he was such a great guy because he was really all about science. And he would say, hey, I don't know how to do what you do, so I'm going to let you do what you do, as long as it doesn't bother me in doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, so he just gave me a ton of freedom and really allowed me to really just kind of come up with what came out of my mind. And, we were able to take some of the things like chicken salad, with apples and roasted pecans and sliced grapes. That type of thing wasn't even heard of in like a quick service restaurant, but that was something that we were doing at Arby's, and it did extremely well. And I was very fortunate to just again, he kind of always said, "Hey, do your thing," and they gave me a lot of freedom, and because of that freedom, I think that we had a lot of success with the company as well.
Yeah. Wow. What a cool story. I love that.
Oh,
So, from what
thank
I
you.
know about you or have learned of you is that we most of our listeners, not all, but a lot are within the first responder world, and that's where I come from.
Awesome.
And it sounds like you have some people within your family who are first responders. So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was interesting. My daughter, when she graduated from college, she was sort of trying to figure out what she wanted to do in life. And, like a lot of students do, right? Go to school, you put the work in, and then, sometimes where there's jobs available, or whatever, you kind of looking and searching. So her first thing she decided to do was go to Peace Corps. And, she went to Ethiopia for 2.5 years. And man, it was tough. And beautiful country, beautiful people, but just a different type of culture. And she
Mm.
had to learn all these different dialects and all these different things. And I would always tell her, I said, you're Superwoman. If you can go and you can deal with that, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And don't let anyone stop you. So there's not a door that you can't walk through. So always know that. And she did, she got back and, after the Peace Corps, again, she sort of went down the, working for charities and what have you. But, in her heart, it was always about how I can serve.
Mm.
She had that same mentality. And my wife as well, my wife is an Air Force vet. And, I kind of come from a family. My father was a, pastor of a church and all that. So it's always kind of giving back to the community.
Hmm.
And, she got back and she said, well, I'm going to become a firefighter. I'm going to become a paramedic. And it was tough, man. Going through that whole process, I think people have no idea the mental and physical fortitude that it takes to do what you guys do every day and the sacrifice. And, for me, first of all, I was so proud of her. And she finally got through school, and it's tough, and the physical side of it, and the aptitude. You gotta be smart.
Hmm.
All these different things that it takes to become, first responder, firefighter, and it's just such a selfless and giving job. And for me, it was like, how can I help her in some way, right? And so we go and we visit her station the first time, and I was just like blown away. These young kids, these young men and women, in some regards, that are sacrificing their lives to save our lives. And it's such a civil, such a giving thing. And, when I saw them, I spent the day with them. I saw what they were eating and how they were cooking it and kind of saw the kitchen and everything. And I was actually shocked that these people that put their lives on the line for us don't have a nice place to cook.
Hmm.
They're not always eating the best of food, and I felt like, well, maybe I can come cook for them. Maybe I can come give them some of my spice blends. Maybe I can make their cooking process a little bit easier. So we started cooking at the fire department. And, right now, my future son-in-law, my wife, my daughter now is in nursing school,
Oh yeah.
excuse me, nursing school and working at a hospital. And her fiance there is currently on the Coral Gables Fire Department. And, it's been a heartfelt thing. I really want to do what I can to improve not only what these guys eat and how they eat, but if I can improve the cooking conditions that they cook in, I want to help that too. So uh, it's the least that I can do is help them in some way because they give us so much.
Mm. Yeah, I always have to give a good shout out for the other ladies out there doing the job because it is tough. It's tough for everybody, but it's definitely different as a
Absolutely.
female for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So proud of her.
Oh gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And now going to nursing school and that's just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a selfless job. I think about, it could be these guys' last meal,
Hmm.
right? For all practical purposes. So, if I can. teach them a few cooking techniques, make it easier for them to cook in the kitchen, great tasting, healthier food, well, then I want to do it. And, everybody has a calling in life. I was literally talking to a chef earlier today and I said, everybody's meant to do something. So I'm going down the lane that I was supposed to go down. And that is how can I make a difference in people's lives through food, right? Whether it's cooking a meal or teaching them how to cook their own meal or providing a tool in their everyday kitchen toolkit. And so that's why I really came up with spiced up seasonings.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's such a valuable point to speak to is that we do a really good job at like just going for it, putting ourselves out there, but like the mental health side of things too is like we're kind of always the last in line when it comes to that. And I'm wondering if you can speak to how, because I know you have a big passion for teaching people how to eat healthy and cook healthier without sacrificing, like you don't need to just eat chicken and broccoli.
Right.
But like have you seen or can you resonate with the connection between how important the physical health through food is like for your mental health and how that really does impact you?
Well, absolutely. So it's interesting. I found out probably, maybe it's been probably 4 months ago. So I've had my own battle between, cancer, dealt with prostate cancer, got through that, thank God, so cancer free. But, on the surface, I work out, 4 or 5 days a week. I try to eat well, but, genetically fighting cholesterol and from cholesterol to high blood pressure and all those different things. Well, what comes along with that is chronic stress, chronic hypertension, and really kind of your diet is a part of all that. It's so closely connected together. So part of my fighting with, or battling, understanding chronic kidney disease is it's the silent killer, they call it. And, as you get older, you kind of take it for granted. I mean, my back is hurting or something's kind of sore, and you get some blood work and you realize I'm already, stage 3 kidney disease, right? So I immediately, my mindset was like the first thing I had to do was I had to change my diet. And it wasn't so much that I was eating that bad, but it was the little things that I love the most. My potato chips. Like I can pass by a dessert bar all day long, but man, if you throw some potato chips on there and, a burger and piece, especially during football season, we have a problem. So, um, I have to change to more of a plant-based, protein diet, more of a plant-based diet. And then I had to change how I approach life. And, really I had to eliminate stress more, right?
Mm.
And it's kind of like, from how much you drink, kind of affects what you eat while you're drinking, right? And it's kind of a domino effect because you take in more salt, you probably eat more sugar, you probably eat more processed foods. And so I kind of approach life a little bit different because if you're well rested, right, and you're more at peace, you're going to make better decisions. And you can kind of watch what's happening in the crazy world today a little bit more. You can be more aware, and it allows you to be more centered. And that's where that mental spiritual connection really makes it has an effect.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with you that it it's always an interesting, like there's so much interesting data and research coming out with all of this now, and especially with the moving more towards a plant-based diet, which is very counterculture to first responder world.
It's
It's like
tough.
it is tough. So how would you what would you say to somebody that's like pretty resistant towards the plant-based side of things, or how could you encourage them to maybe open their mind a little bit to explore that?
So everything really is about making small steps in the right direction, right? So, they didn't build Rome overnight. It's really about like just learning to make small, you know, exchanges, small switches, right? Maybe it's not getting the large, extra large French fries. Maybe it's getting the small French fries, right? Maybe switching from French fries, fried French fries, to maybe sweet potato fries. Uh, do them in the air fryer instead of frying them again, right? Making your own French fries, right? Because, potatoes are a good source of potassium. It's just a matter of, once they get coated and all those different things, it's just making all those small directions and the small steps in the right direction. And, I am, my wife teases me now because we lived in California at one point and we lived in Southern California. And she teases me because I drink matcha now. She calls me matcha man. And I'm always in my tofu and all the different things. But you'd be surprised what she can do with some tofu. I mean, texture wise, and it takes on almost any flavor. So if you want a great pasta dish and your favorite marinara sauce, a little chopped tofu goes a long way, and some Tuscan experience. Life is good.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, that's brilliant. I myself have recently started to move towards more plant-based, which if I would have told this to myself like 5 years ago or more, I would have been like, you're crazy. How
right?
can you do that? But learning to explore some of these different things of, yeah, tofu and tempeh and like edamame pastas and like it
Yes.
really is just amazing. You don't like you're not missing out on without having that big piece of meat
Yeah.
or whatever it is. You really do feel good if you do it right.
And that's the thing is like my inflammation has went down. I sleep better. Um, you have better, your attitude is better, your outlook on life if you're not weighed down, right? If you're not in pain. And, it's really amazing. I work with I'm a part of this program called Plant Power. It's one of the doctors from University of Miami. She created this a vegan program. It's a clinical study where they take families from underserved communities and they teach them the vegan lifestyle.
Hmm,
And I think that we go into it knowing that they may not, change fully to a fully, vegan plant-based lifestyle. But boy, if you could take down 50%, reduce 50% of their cholesterol or 50% of the sodium that they take in, or just how their body digests and processes, animal protein, it's a win.
totally.
And and just to get them to think differently, because one of the things that I learned with CKD is it's actually hard on your body to process animal protein.
Hmm.
So, the more plant-based that you can do, longer term, your organs and all these little nuances of your body that you don't necessarily know about, it's all intertwined and interconnected.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. You're so on the same track as me, which is gonna totally record scratch a lot of people listening because I know it's not the most popular, but it's true. I mean, people have to fact check me because I don't have it 100% in my head, but there is data around how long it takes you to basically digest a piece of meat versus like digesting plant-based stuff.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
yeah, it is very crazy how it's it's literally there. The data is there and you just all I can say is just be open-minded and like you said, try it even if it's a couple times a week or implementing it into, one meal a day or
right,
whatever that looks like is just be open-minded to try.
yeah. And I haven't fully given up meat, right? I was talking to a chef friend, and He made me salivate over a piece of meat talking about it, actually. And, I actually food sinned this weekend. We went to a Japanese restaurant, and they had some open meat that they were doing on the kebab. So I food sinned this weekend with a piece of beef I hadn't had in a while, and it was good. Uh, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh my gosh, I missed that so much. It was just like a moment, right? I was ready to immediately like get back into. I love having. I appreciate a cucumber so much differently now than I did before. A cucumber, fresh pepper, fresh tomato. Now these are things that as a chef, understanding great quality was one thing, and making these amazing salads. And there's nothing better than a fresh tomato when you're making sauce from fresh tomatoes or in a salad and anything. But I just appreciate them in a different way now.
Hmm.
Just not the fact that I know my body needs it even more so too, because all of that stuff is just my insides fits better. I'm a little bit leaner unintentionally. The side effect, a positive side effect, is I've had people ask me if I've gotten on Ozempic or some GLP-1, and no, I just went plant based, like
Wow.
pretty much plant based, and like so I no, I still enjoy my stuff, and still appreciate food for all it's worth. But and I when I get back to Texas, I will crave and I will go and I will barbecue. I will barbecue sin all day for a moment. But you know, I'll look just as forward to getting back and cleansing my system again, if you would.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it sort of becomes a way of life,
Mhm.
and a good way of life. And unconsciously, as you start eating better, that's what you seek, and that's what your body craves. Your body starts craving those things that are good for you than those things that are bad for you. Because
Yes.
now I can tell you, if you had asked me 4 or 5 months ago, right now I usually get lean in the summer so I can build it back up in the fall and winter time, just football season alone. Right now they have all the chips on sale at the store, and I've been able to walk past them the first few times, the first month or so. I was like, I don't know about this, man. This may be really tough on me. But now I can, I'm fine. I can go to the grocery store hungry and crave, some blueberries or, some a bag of nuts. So, yeah, no, it's been actually a true blessing for me. And tomorrow is the beginning of our first new cohort tomorrow. So we have 40 families that we start tomorrow with. And I I'm not just someone who helps, teach a cooking class or two and provide some spices, but I am now living that lifestyle.
Wow.
So yeah, it means a lot more to me. So when I'm talking to you about, making these different dishes with different vegetables and rice and all these different grains and I'm telling you what I do myself
Hmm.
and what I'm feeding my family.
Yeah.
So it comes from the heart.
Absolutely. No, I totally feel it. What would you say, like, let's say we have a crew or an individual maybe because we have a lot of families that listen too, but let's say they're curious about this. They want to try something. Can you give us like a sample dinner option? Like, here's how to try something that would, people would most likely like we get it, everybody has their own opinion. But give
Right.
us an idea of like, okay, we want to cook a plant-based dinner tonight. What can this look like?
I'll give you two quick simple ones because they're that easy, right? So Italian is probably number one cuisine in America still, right? And again, extra firm tofu, a simple onion, some olive oil. Um, I not pushing my spice blends, but I really created them so you don't have to have 5 or 6 different ingredients in one. You can get everything you need out of one container. So You don't need to add any extra garlic. You don't need to add any extra herbs. And I have fennel seed in mine, which is like it almost gives it a sausagey taste. So you're going to get this extra bit of flavor there. It has crushed red pepper, a little bit of sun-dried tomato.
Mm.
So it's very well rounded and gives you this savory note. And that with some olive oil, I'll just saute it. I actually use the chickpea pasta because it has more fiber, more protein. You're getting 18 to 23 grams of protein and 12, 15 grams of fiber, which is what you want, right? So what I love about the tofu is you can saute it enough to where it gets a little bit crispy for you, so you have great texture.
Nice.
And then really your favorite tomato sauce, your favorite marinara. Um, and it's really as simple as sauteing the onion, sauteing the tofu, and adding the Tuscan experience and then adding your favorite marinara sauce. So you already have the base of the meal, and then it's cooking your pasta.
Hmm.
Um, I cook it separately, and every meal I make, I try to fortify it with like some more nutrients. Like so, for me, with that meal, I would chop up spinach in it. I chop it up really fine so that it almost looks like an herb.
Hmm.
And for my son, well, first of all, I have a 17-year-old. I wish I could tell you that he was eating this. No, I can barely get it. It's not going to happen. Uh, but hopefully one day he will. Uh, but there are others that do. I feed this to the families over there at the youth center, and they really enjoy it. So that's meal number one, right? Is a simple. It's what five ingredients, right? So you have tofu, you have an onion, you have pasta, you have marinara, and Tuscan experience. So you can't get much more simple than that, and it's spinach. So that's your six items.
Nice.
So to be able to do that, A, it's pretty and it tastes phenomenal. You'll
Yes.
just be shocked how refreshing and clean it tastes as well.
Mm.
So that's just number one. And then just number two is whether you like tacos or burritos, right? Chipotle has made it popular for everybody to want to have quick carry out, sort of better for you version of Mexican food,
Hmm.
right? And I make tacos. I can make tacos. I can take, ground, I could take tofu and almost smash it up like it's ground meat with like a strainer, right? And so you get these little pellets, and it's really just, again, sauteed some onions. With that one, I use two spice buns. I use the secret sauce, which is, I call it spicy, smoky salt.
Ooh.
And then I have my Latin Caribbean blend that I mix with that. And literally again, a red onion, some tofu, uh, the two spice blend, and that's my base,
Nice.
right? And literally, if you like corn tortillas, some nice corn tortillas with a little bit of lettuce, tomato. Um, I always love avocado. So to have some avocado, a fresh squeeze of lime. Not only will it look like a taco and taste like, it will just surprise you at
Hmm.
how much that it feels like you're getting actual meat. But you're adding all this clean protein and fiber and these extra nutrients to your body.
Yeah. That sounds so good. My stomach is actively growling. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so good. I'm gonna have to try it.
It's so simple.
Oh
It's really
yeah.
simple. Everything, my whole philosophy, if it's overcomplicated, people won't replicate it.
Hmm.
And one of the, it used to be a part of the show called Recipe Rehab. And basically it was families, chefs competed against each other to make family recipes healthy. So you'd send in your favorite recipe, and our job was to look at your recipe and make it healthier for you. Make it healthier, but it had to be, it couldn't be complicated because, if you put too many ingredients or it was too many steps, people just would never do it again. They would only do it on the show. So
Hmm.
the goal was to make it simple enough that they'd want to continue to do it. And it's really kind of the way I look at recipes, right? If it has too many steps in it, It's the one, if it's that once a year chili, once a year holiday meal, it's one thing. But what I'm going to cook for every day, I want it quick and simple, and I don't want to think too much about it. It's almost recipe, no recipe.
Right. Well, that's so valuable, I think, for anybody that works as a first responder because like you can get on shift, especially a call whenever at any time, and it never fails. It's always during a meal. Like it just
Of
always
course,
happens.
of course,
So
of
you don't have
course.
a lot of time to make a lot of like tons of ingredients and steps and when people have to step in and take over and it just makes it easier when but it doesn't have to be like unhealthy and it doesn't have to be like not tasting
Bland.
well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So, funny thing is so I cook for the fire department probably maybe it was a couple months ago now, and like usual, Miami traffic. And so I bought them some beef tenderloins, and the place that I bought it from normally is really, really great for meat. And I just buy the whole tenderloin and I just break it down and cut it into fillets for everyone. And I get it. And I was at home, kind of cleaning it up. I was about to, and it just smelled horrible.
Hmm.
So it was on the other part of town. So I had to go back to the butcher and, traffic was just horrible. So by the time I was probably, I mean, I got there well before mealtime. I think that they were doing dinner like 6 o'clock or so. And I was trying to hopefully get there around 4:30. I ended up getting there around 5:30. So I said, well, I'm going to test my philosophy. Anyone can cook and, less labor, more flavor. So I had probably maybe 40, 45 minutes to prepare, food for like 24, 25 people.
Oof.
And it worked out well. I mean, the grill, nothing was kind of going as you planned it, but yeah, that's why the thing that made it easy was I literally had olive oil, I had some acidity, which was the lime, and I used the various spice blends on different types of meat, from chicken, beef to pork, and gave them a good sort of smorgasbord of flavors. And literally, they all saw there was no secrets. It was right there. It
Hmm.
was literally boom, 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 and they were filming it. And so there's a lot of truth to being able to cook a great tasting meal without a lot of work and pre-planning. So they now use them a lot. So every time I see them, they do videos and stuff, sharing content with them, utilizing spices. And I really, really wanted to help out by we gave them a QR code for them to be able to kind of raise money for the individual stations because ultimately it's like if I can help discount it and the local community can support it, we can take a portion of that as proceeds and donate it back to the house. So, a lot of times, and this as well, you guys kind of pitch in for your meals, right? Everybody has to give a little something to the pot. And if I can help eliminate that a day or two a week, that's awesome.
Wow.
If I can help buy some new pots and pans or some mittens or something that's going to make it a better experience for you while you're at work, it's a win. So that's really something I'd love to like do around the country because every firehouse, every community deserves that type of support.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure the door would be wide open at any department to have somebody come cook for them. I know
Absolutely.
that would be awesome. But yeah, I think it's such a good thing to teach and be aware of and not living off of, microwave burritos and energy drinks to get through your 24 or 48-hour shift or even 12-hour shifts that some people work, but having
Absolutely.
these good options.
Well, I love to batch cook a lot. So, batch cooking definitely helps because if you can kind of, batch cook it and pre-plan so everybody can have a little something in different various times of the evening or the night or the morning. It's always a win-win situation.
Oh, yeah. So, can you? I want to switch directions just a little bit, but I
Absolutely.
know because the food is at the heart of what you do, and I know like you've gone into the stations and cooked and stuff, but I'm wondering if you can speak about because part of my mission is talking about how important community is when it comes to this journey of life, and especially as we're supporting one another and as we're going through things, like having that community is very central. And so, can you talk a little bit about what your perspective is on like how important meals are together and that community that sitting down and having a meal, like what that really does and how important that is versus people just eating on their own or doing their own thing, but talk about that comes from the power of food and community.
Yeah, well, I think I could probably say this for a lot of people. So many significant moments in your life probably happen in the kitchen, right? That's where the family started gathered as a kid, right? That's where, my grandmother my mom died when I was 7 years old. So, my grandmother, kind of took the role as my mother in a lot of ways. Both of them, actually. Both my mom's mother as well as my father's mother. So, and the way they sort of did it was, we sat around the table and she made us our famous waffles. And, you know, in my mind, I always picture that. I used to always want to do a restaurant called Helen's Place.
Mm-mm.
And that was the name of my grandmother was Helen Johnson. It was. And part of that was like, it, it was a social gathering place. It's where you shared your good and bad moments, sometimes at the kitchen table, right? It was a place, that's where we said our prayer. That's where you said your first, you thank God for the food that was before you and the people that prepared it. So it was a place that you got many lessons around the kitchen table. And I think of the importance of, the community is like that kitchen table, right? It's constantly flowing, right? It's full of food in abundance at times, and sometimes it's empty. But there's always something there. There's
Mhm.
always someone there. And just, having that sense of belonging. Everybody needs somebody. And, it's funny, I was reading a study, just listened to one podcast, something the other day, and they were just talking about how people who choose to be alone, they don't live as long as people who choose to be around other people because we were meant to be together. We were meant to be part of a group. We were meant to be a part of a tribe. And community is like that extended family, that part of your tribe. So um, I think it's ultimately, especially right now, we're so, you know, we're all in different directions. And, there's still a lot of love around food. And sometimes food and music is the one common element that can bring people together, right? So anytime you can open up your home or meet in a gathering where there's food, there's usually some form of love that's involved around it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I always like one of my favorite memories when I was online was like meals, like sitting down for, we used to call it literally like family dinner, like sitting
yeah,
down together. And you just, I mean, it's just such a fun time and a time to talk and a time to, people aren't, I mean, hopefully they're not on their phones most of the time, they weren't, but it's just a good time to connect with other people. And so not losing out on that because it is important.
yeah. Every restaurant I've ever worked at, we pretty much ate together. We worked hard together, but we ate together. It was
Mhm.
called family meal.
Nice.
And it was during that period, right? Whether it was talking about the game plan for the day or it gave each one of us an opportunity to cook for one another. It was a big deal. You
Yeah.
know, the chef that I spoke to a couple of chefs today. It's funny, but one of them is on his way to James Beard House, and this is his third time cooking at the James Beard House, and he just reminded me of like the level of commitment that it takes to do we do, like what you guys do, and what you've done, and sometimes it's a selfless job,
Mhm.
and you do it because, like he said to me, he says, "It's been so long since you've tasted any of my food." And I was like, I guess you're right about that. And I don't know, you just feel this togetherness and that you're part of something. And I think that that's what's missing a little bit today.
Mhm.
So embracing one another and getting around that dinner table and talking. You can let your guard down. It's the ultimate feeling of family.
Oh, yeah, I agree so much. And yeah, I have like such a warm place in my heart for all chefs and people that cook. It's just such a cool, and it's really difficult. It's a very difficult job, very strenuous, and but it looks, it's just so fun, I guess, to see people do it, and it's an art and a craft, and it's just very cool.
Well, for me, it's like some people like to fish. I have two things that like I can kind of, excuse me, just get into a zone, and I get in trouble with my wife. By the way, I'm always in trouble for I'm trying to cook and not make a mess along the way because she says somewhere along the way your mise en place were mixed up and their mise en place were all over the place. But it's a place where I think I'm cooking and I'm thinking because I run a business, right? I'm cooking, I'm thinking about kind of life, the son, the daughter, my wife, and just what's kind of going on in the world. It's a place that I find peace. Me just kind of chopping and something going on in the pan and me stirring this and stirring that. I still find peace in it.
Yeah.
So it's my version of fishing. I've been on a golf course, although I love golfing.
Sure. Yeah, it's a cooking is like a form of meditation. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely a form of being mindful because you're very present like in what you're doing, and it's from my stance like a very powerful modality when it comes to your mental health, and I agree with you. So,
Absolutely. Anything that can calm you down and it's giving you some peace, and there's a reward at the end, right? The reward is you get to eat,
mhm.
uh, and hopefully share what you're eating with others, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's a beautiful thing, and nothing is better when you can cook something and people around you like the food.
Oh, yes.
It's very satisfying to be able to take that one dish or whatever your favorite to. We got holiday season coming up, and there'll be a lot of potlucks. So got to get your potluck game together here.
That's right.
And fall is funny. We were just talking about Colorado lamb, which again, if I was in Colorado, haven't been in a while, in despite of my plant-based protein life, if I came to Colorado, I would have to find me some lamb because
Yeah,
it is the best.
that's interesting. I can't say I've had lamb in other places, so I don't have a good gauge on that, but that there is some good lamb and close to where I live. Like so it's local at least. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no. And then the reason I came to mind because play golf Saturday, and the guy was saying, I was thinking about you because it's getting ready to be deer season, and I mean, he says getting ready to be deer season. I was thinking about you. He says, but he showed me a picture of his daughter eating a lamb bone, chewing on
Oh.
a lamb bone, and she was so happy.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She was a cutie chewing on a lamb bone.
That's
But yeah,
funny.
again, it kind of goes back to eating. It goes around the table.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So tell people about like where they can connect with you and how they can show up and support you and what you're doing. Like and kind of get tap into some of your resources on the spices and your cooking, all of the things that you're doing. Um, Tell everyone how they can get connected with you.
Well, my website is www.spicedupseasonings.com, and my IG and all that. So there's Chef Calvin Harris, not the DJ. That stole my name and I get nothing for. You
Right.
have to put shelf in front of it. I have asked if I could get a royalty. It hasn't worked out for me too well. Um, but then it's at Spiced Up Seasonings on IG. And yeah, there's recipes there. I'm easy to DM if you need me, but I just learned what that meant like a couple of years ago. It's a different talk show. But yes, happy to answer questions and just be a resource if need be. So
Awesome.
um, yeah,
Yeah, and
and
I'll put a link to all of that in the show notes too, so people can have it and connect with you. And I'm sure if any departments out there want to extend the invite, like extend the invite and come have Chef Calvin cook for you, it sounds amazing.
yeah, we'll figure something out. What's interesting is I'm also working. We have a protein shake that I've been working on, and part of what I'm doing with that is really just sugar is the biggest. Sugar is bad for you at the end of the day, and it's in everything. 75, 80% of everything that we eat, and it's like just really been trying to focus on how can I eliminate sugar in things, yet make them taste fantastic, right? Get the great taste without using all the artificial sweeteners out there. So that's more to come. But I am really trying to do everything I can. When I think about ultimately where I want my company to do is be known as that company that has great tasting food that has some functional benefits that's going to positively affect your body, right? So everything that we do, whether it's making it easier to cook so you can eat better at home, or what you're drinking or eating the food that you're consuming. If it comes from us, we're going to make sure that it's going to do something good for your body.
Nice. Awesome. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna go follow you on Instagram because I want some of your recipes. So I'll invite everybody to do that. And I just want to again extend like a warm gratitude. Thank you so much for like taking the time to speak to everybody today and like you had such great information and connection to things that I think a lot of people are going to hear and resonate with. So very big thank you to you for taking the time and everybody appreciates it very much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and happy holidays because it's right around the corner before we know it. And
Crazy.
you know how to find me if you need any help with cooking that plant-based holiday meal. I'm gonna be trying, so you
Oh,
may see a recipe or two, a few accidents out there. So
nice. I think that's a great challenge. I mean, a holiday meal plant-based. That'll be a good one.
we'll see. We're gonna go. We'll have to go 50-50. But again, it's a small step. Small step in the right direction. Maybe next year we go all in. This year, if we cut out a third or something, that's a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, we thank everybody for listening in today as well, and we will catch you on the next episode. Hey, friends, if you found this conversation to be helpful for you in any way, we would love to hear from you. Drop us a line in the comments. Let us know how those recipes went for you or what you're trying at home, maybe a new way of nutrition that you're considering now. But we would like to hear about how it went for you. If you're also liking and enjoying the podcast and all the content that's coming at you, we would so appreciate your like and your subscribe and sharing with anybody who you think could value from the conversation. The mission is all about sharing with others. All right, go out there and continue to be awesome. We'll see you very soon.